Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football with Alan Shearer, Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. We're now just a couple of days away from the curtain being raised on Euro 2024. Host Germany plays Scotland, of course, in the opening game on Friday evening, with England then getting their campaign underway against Serbia on Sunday. What we're going to do over the next couple of episodes is a full tournament preview, covering all 24 nations that will be competing. We're going to go through group by group and look at what we can expect from each side, the star players to keep an eye out for, and how we think the group will play out, and who will go through to the knockout rounds. Well, the 24 teams in it, 16 teams will go through, so you'll have to play pretty poorly not to get through, but nevertheless, let's kick things off with Group A, and in that group, we've got Germany, Scotland, Hungary and Switzerland. So let's start with the host nations. Are you ready for this, chaps? You done your homework? You brief?
Good luck, Micah.
Micah knows every player in the world. Don't worry about that. He's played so many football managers and FIFAs over the years.
Yes, Champman, Football Manager, FIFA, Pro Evolution Soccer.
The lot.
The lot.
It should hold you in good stead. Germany should be one of the more simple teams to follow, of course, because we've watched the Germans for years. World ranking at the moment, would you believe, is as low as 16. I wonder how often it's been that low in the past. They didn't have to qualify, of course, as the host nation. They've got a new-ish manager in Julian Nagelsmann, who lost his job halfway through the season at Bayern Munich, and they've still got a lot of talent in that squad, and they're to be underestimated at our peril, right?
Well, I think if they get a really good start, then they'll be difficult to beat. I think from a Scotland point of view, if you were going to play them, you'd rather play them in the first game of the tournament. But I mean, it doesn't jump out at you, the team, does it? But as I said, I think if they get going, they'll have the snowball effect. They'll have the crowd behind them. They'll get the confidence going. Then they'll be difficult to beat. But I think it all depends how they start.
They've got some good players as well. You know, we talk about England, and we'll obviously go on to them a little bit later, but when you've got Kimmich and Toni Kroos and Musiala and Gundogan and Wirtz and Havertz, they can do some damage, they can.
They've got Wirtz and Havertz and Bratwurst. That's a sausage. I
hope it's going to get better than that as we go on, by the way.
It's early in the morning. I need my sausages for my breakfast. So yeah, I think I'll be surprised if they win it, because they've struggled in recent times. They even lost a friendly at home to Japan a while ago. But they've got at least half a really, really strong team, and you can never ever rule out the Germans. They play Scotland, as you quite rightly said, Alan, in the opening game of the tournament, and Steve Clarke's been in charge now since 2019. Took them to the last Euros. That was their first tournament since 1998. And they could cause teams a few problems. And they got one or two good results. They beat Spain, of course, famously in the group stages. How do we think they'll get on? Micah, you go first.
I think, when we talk about individual quality, it's not up there with the rest of the teams, but they are a very good team. They all know the jobs. Obviously, they've got good individual players as well, but they work really well as a unit. They play with that five at the back, Robertson playing the wing back and Tierney playing left of the three. In midfield, you got someone like Billy Gilmore, who's really good on the ball, McGregor, who's up at Celtic, John McGinn, who's had an absolutely brilliant season at Aston Villa, along with Christie. The one thing for me, I look at Scotland and think, have they got enough goals up front? That's the area where I'd be looking at and thinking, in them key vital moments when you need to take the opportunity, are they going to be clinical enough to get that important goal? But in terms of qualifying, they were impressive, really good. They go defensive when they need to, counter-attack when they need to, and they've got some good individual players. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to get out of the group, but something tells me they've just got enough team spirit maybe to get out of that group.
They relied on Scott McTominay a lot in qualifying. He scored, I think, 7 goals in all, so which was pretty.
They won
impressive.
the first 5 games, didn't they? They won the 5 out of 5 in qualifying. So it hasn't. I mean, the form hasn't been great since then. But
Steve Clark from Newcastle, don't you, Alan? Wasn't he there was he Ruud Gullit's number 2?
He was.
He was probably the one that told Ruud to leave you on the bench.
Newer knows his stuff. Him and John Carver. John Carver's a coach there with Steve Clark now as well. So I know John pretty well. He still lives in Newcastle, and we had the odd game of golf together. And they're pretty optimistic. I think for what they don't have an ability. I mean, so there's no doubt there's top players in there, but they'll more than make up with their heart, and that's all that their fans will want. They'll give them a right good effort, and that might be enough. I think they're in a pretty tough group, but it's not going to be impossible for them to get out of it. As we know, that third place with a number of points might be enough to get them out of the group. So, yeah, I think I would be fairly confident that they could get out the group.
I had Steve Clark as well at Aston Villa. And one thing you will get from him is honesty.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you need. And you might not like the conversations he's got to have with you. He came in after Remy Gard and was just honest and said, basically, what I want you to do, you can't do. You're holding yourself back with your knee, so be part of the squad, but you're not going to play. And I just thought it was refreshing. Fair play to him.
Canel, if only had someone sort of told you 5 years earlier.
Set himself up for that one beautifully. The next team in that group, we've got Hungary, whose world ranking has kind of gone spiralling up lately. They're up to 26 now. They top Group G ahead of Serbia, and they've got Marco Rossi in charge, the Italian. He's been there since 2018. And if you remember, I keep saying, want to say 4 years ago, but it was 3 years ago at Euro 2020, as it was called. Obviously delayed because of COVID, but they had that amazing group, didn't they, with France, Portugal and Germany, where any team at various points of the last matches could have gone through. And just with minutes to go, it looked like it would be Hungary, but it didn't quite happen for them in the end. They're a decent side, Hungary. I think they could be one of those little dark horses that goes a little way in the tournament.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they'll be really difficult to beat in qualifying. They weren't beaten at all. They won 5, drew 3 in the same group as Serbia. So they'll be tough. They'll be hard. Italian coach, I think that tells you they'll be set up, and they'll try and stifle the opposition and hit them on the break. And I think they will have enough to get out of the group. I think they'll finish second in this group.
Key players though as well, haven't they? Got Galassi, the experienced goalkeeper. Orban, remember him at Leipzig. Kirkes, who we see in the Premier League.
Szoboszlai,
and
of course,
Szoboszlai, yes, at Liverpool. So you never know. In a tournament, it can always be different. I think you guys would tell me differently. Momentum goes a long way, doesn't it? You win your first game, you get a little bit of belief, and then you just roll with it.
And by the way, they beat England home and away, didn't they, in the Nations League?
Group. Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely. I don't know why we keep bigging up England. Every time we talk about them, they've lost, including against Iceland, obviously, recently. But there we go. The other team in that group is Switzerland. I always think Switzerland seem to punch above their weight in tournaments over the years, grind out good results, beat France, of course, didn't they, in their penalty shootout in that bonkers game 3 years ago that I think... weren't they 3-1 down, and they got back to 3-3 with a couple of goals in the last minute or two, and then it went to penalties, and of course Mbappe famously missed in that one. some good players as well in there that we know from the Premier League. Even Shaqiri's still going. It feels like Shaqiri should be 45, but I checked it out before. And he's still only 32. He's been around for that long. This is a group that will be tough to get out of, particularly if it were guaranteed only 2 teams going through, but obviously the third might well go through. But what thoughts on Switzerland?
Experienced. They've got players who've been around the block. I don't know. I think they might find it difficult to get out the group. But again, you said it. You got Kanji and Xhaka and Shaqiri, and so.
Cher, one of your boys?
Fabian Cher, that's right, yeah. He's a good player. Really good player.
I mean, in Granit Xhaka, they've got that experience, and don't forget he played for this extraordinary Leverkusen side this season, who played 50 games for them. And I saw the only game that they lost in the final in Dublin. They could get out the group. It's a tough group, this one.
It is a tough one.
Arguably the toughest of all, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a tough group, but it's hard to say, isn't it? Because who turns up in the vital moments. You do all the qualifying campaign and who looks good, but again, it's momentum. Xhaka, when he left Arsenal, I was absolutely devastated because I knew how important he could be to a team. Okay, he got a lot of red cards and he was sort of a target at times, but he's so good, especially when he's playing a bit more offensive for Arsenal at times. And I think in this Switzerland team, he's got the license to do what he wants, and I think you're going to see him in his best form. So I'm looking forward to see how they perform.
Let's just do 2 teams in each group, and that'll allow us a little bit of leeway for the other 6. You get too complicated otherwise. So top 2 in each group. That's all we're going to do.
Germany, Hungary.
Germany, Scotland. Come on, you Scots.
I'll go Germany and Scotland as well. I think Scotland will get through. I think it might be in third, but that still counts as going through. We shall see. The next group, Group B, another good group, another cracker actually. Spain, Croatia, Italy and Albania. I think Groups A and B are possibly the strongest 2 groups. But let's start with Spain. Always a threat in any tournament. They're perhaps not as strong, obviously, as they were when they had the great team around 2008, 10, 12 and onwards. Very young side, some absolutely exciting talent that they've got coming through. They still top Group A ahead of Scotland, but did lose, obviously, that game against Scotland. They'll have to probably be favourites to go through in that group. Micah?
Yeah, I think they will. They've got some quality players. All like you said, Gary, is very young. But they've got some quite experienced players as well. Oyarzabal, who's at Sociedad, and no one really gives him the credit he's due. He's a winger, can also play number 10. He scored a hat-trick the other day against Andorra, I think it was. But
he won the Masters twice.
How do you say his name? Oyarzabal.
Oyarzabal.
Yes. Honest to God, he is unbelievable. And for some reason, because he stayed at Sociedad for so long, he doesn't get the credit he should. And I watched him in the Champions League, and he's got something special, along with the likes of, the young boys. I think it's a big tournament for Ferran Torres as well. Because
it's Oyarzabal.
Yes,
I love it, Micah. Well done.
Beautifully done. You were pretty close there. That was.
But watch him, guys. I know you've seen him before. But
I've seen him.
Watch him. He glides past people. His touch, technique. He's got everything. And because of all the young boys, the Pedri and Gavi, he sort of gets overlooked. But he could cause damage in this Euro.
Got Yamal as well. I mean, they've got it's like almost a youth team in some ways, but they'll do what they do. Perhaps the one thing might be they've struggled in recent years scoring enough goals up front. But they'll still be hard to get the ball off.
Yeah, they will do. And I was just reading about them this morning, and they've put more crosses into the box, which when you think about the passing and everything else, you associate with that. but they put more crosses into the box than the vast majority of teams. So that I found.
It's obviously something Luis de la Fuente has worked on.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, they've got some unbelievable talent. I mean, the youngsters put that along with Rodri and his experience. So they won't be far away, Spain.
Yeah. On to Croatia, who've had a brilliant record in recent years, haven't they, in terms of how far they've gone in tournaments, finals, semi-finals, etc. They qualified by being second in Group D behind Turkey. And is it a team, well, we kind of said it a couple of years ago or in the World Cup that we thought might be getting too old, but they still had a real good run in the tournament, didn't they, until they came up against Argentina in the semi-finals. Why did Croatia punch above their weight so much? Small population.
It is, isn't it? Or the talent that they've got, the ability. I mean, we've been seeing it for years, haven't we? And this is a very experienced squad as well. I mean, Modric is obviously there, and he'll play a major part in that. So, yeah, I mean, I know with the experience and everything else that they have, but do you think it's one tournament too many for this group or not?
I think it could be. It's a tough group as well, obviously, to get out of. But they do find a way. They're gritty as well. You know, they've still got. Modric is still around. I know he's 49 now, but not quite. But but they've got Gvardiol, and we've seen how brilliant he's been this season for Manchester City. Micah? Yeah,
I think I probably agree with you. You never like to write Croatia off because you asked the question before, what makes them so... The mentality. The mentality is... I've played with a few Croatians and they just give everything on the pitch along with quality. How many people are in Croatia? Was it 6 million? Was it something like that? Five or 6 million? And to be getting to the latter rounds of these competitions...
Similar population to Scotland, I think.
Just unbelievable. Like, it is unbelievable. But I just believe some of their key players might be, I don't say over the hill, it's disrespectful, but just not in their prime. So I still think they will compete, but I don't think we'll see as far as, previous tournaments.
Population of about 4 million.
Oof.
It's amazing, isn't it, how well they've done over the years.
On to Italy, who of course didn't qualify for the World Cup, remarkably. But they managed to get through into the Euros. Obviously, the defending champions beat England at Wembley in a penalty shootout, of course, 3 years ago. So, although England beat them twice in qualifying for this particular tournament, but they still finished second and managed to get through. They've got some obviously really good players that we know really well. I think they'll miss you, Doggy.
Sì, Doggy. No worry. Di Marco, giocatore a sinistra. He plays on the left. Di Marco, no problem.
Your Italian's perfect. God, your Italian's so fluent. He plays on the left. That is so good.
Anyone would think that you played in Italy.
Leave the Italian to me. When I'm doing the Italian games
for a few months. No, I thought you must have been there 5-6 years to speak that well, Micah.
When we're doing the Italian games in the Euros, just leave the pronunciation to Big Meeks. I've got it. Don't worry. I've got us. I've got them covered. Don't worry.
Yeah. Doesn't quite sound so good coming from a Geordie. Luciano Spalletti.
Spaghetti. This is getting silly now. But
sorry.
The Italians, they're another of those. Obviously, they're kind of top draw footballing nations. Had quite a bit of success in European football this season, of course. Atalanta winning a trophy. Some mixture of young and old.
Yeah, Fiorentina getting to the Conference League final, I think 2 years in a row. They've got some really good players. I played with a young boy, Mancini, who's at Roma. He was a young boy coming through at Fiorentina at the time. I've been watching his career ever since. Really good centre-half, good on the ball, strong. aggressive. I'm looking forward to see how he does. And Bastoni, wow, he is unbelievable.
He plays at the back as well, doesn't he?
Really calm on the ball, coming out, plays through the lines, good communicator.
He was at Inter.
He's at Inter Milan, yes.
Yeah, I liked Scamacca as well. I thought he played really well in the final against Leverkusen. Saw him play for Atalanta. Mm-hmm. He's good, and then one or two players that we know from the Premier League. Jorginho, of course, Arsenal. Bags of experience.
Yeah, I think their main man though for me is Chiesa. When Chiesa is on it, he used to play for Fiorentina as well. He's now at Juve. Can play either wing, can play number 10, can play fullback. But he's just got that pace to burn. So I'm looking forward to seeing Chiesa as well. Really, really top player.
Alan, thoughts on the Italians?
Yeah, they'll be like Italy are. I think they'll be hard. They'll be very difficult to beat. Defend well, and they've got the centre forward there now. That as you mentioned. So I think they'll do all right. Yeah.
The other team in the group is Albania. They actually topped Group E. Ahead of the Czech Republic, which was... and do you know the manager is?
Silvino.
You remember him at Arsenal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was at City as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was for a while, wasn't he? When they qualified, he was given the Golden Decoration of the Eagle by the Prime Minister of Albania. I mean, they're going to be the underdog in this group, but they could cause a surprise, you know.
Yeah, I mean they don't concede many goals. I think because of the organisation, there's only Portugal and France that conceded fewer goals in the qualifiers. So, but scoring goals is hard to come by for them. But yeah, I mean it's really difficult to see them getting out with it. I think this is the toughest grouping for them to find themselves in it. It's been really unlucky, but they'll make it difficult.
They've got a player in midfield. Aslani.
He's at Inter as well, isn't he?
He's at Inter. He's a number 6. He's the one who threads everything together. He's the glue in that team. And he doesn't play just them short passes. He can play them long passes, and he's not afraid to pass the ball forward as well. So look out for him. Aslani, really good in midfield.
They've got Armando Broja as well, haven't we? He was on loan at Fulham this season, and he's a Chelsea player, of course. Right, quick quiz question. Ooh. Who is the assistant coach of Albania? Micah!
Leave me alone! He's following me everywhere!
Well, the good thing is, Micah, that Pablo Zabaleta, who is your nemesis, is the number 2 at Albania. But when they get knocked out, apparently he's coming in back to the BBC to take you out of your role and take your place, Micah.
Do you remember that, though, at the World Cup? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So I've been signed to BBC for 4 years, just steadily, progression, trying to do my thing. And who gets to the final? Argentina. Who does the final? Pablo Zabaleta. So not only my football career, my broadcasting career too. When will it stop? When will it end, guys?
No, I don't know. You better hope that Albania go all the way. So who's going to qualify from this group? I suppose, realistically, it's going to be tough for Albania. It's 2 from 3, isn't it? And possibly all 3, obviously, remind you again of that. Italy, Croatia, Spain. I think I don't know, Croatia always seem to get through. And I think they might do it, but might be in 3rd. But it's hard not to go Italy and Spain, isn't it?
Yeah, Spain top of the group and Italy 2nd for me. Croatia also qualifying.
I agree. Micah?
Oh, it's hard to disagree with that, Alan. But honestly, Albania, I've been watching their clips for the last 2 days, and they've got something, they've got something.
They have, yeah.
Maybe just not enough up front. I know we mentioned Broja, but yeah, I'd probably agree with Alan, just Spain and Italy.
We've reached Group C, which is the group of England. It also contains Serbia, Denmark, and Slovenia. I suppose let's start with England. World rankings now 4. Top Group C, ahead of Italy, beating Italy twice. And It's tournaments coming. It's another one where we'll build up our hopes, and then our hopes will crush us, I suppose. But speaking on a biased perspective, but we've talked many times about England in recent weeks and this incredible group of talented players. But I suppose even pre-tournament, there was a little bit of a slap on the wrists from Iceland. Is there any reason to worry about that? I mean, to be perfectly honest, these warm-up games, we've played in them, you just try and avoid injury. It's not a big deal. People have read way too much into that particular game. But there's problems at the back for England, isn't there?
Yeah, there's issues defensively. We've got some unbelievable players. I've said it in terms of, I mean, whoever he picks, the front six will be as good as any, I think, in the tournament. So, but I would, with no Harry Maguire there, John Stones got a little bit of an injury, went off at half time in the friendly. So yeah, there's issues. There's without doubt there's issues defensively, and he's got to get the best out of Foden, Bellingham, Saka, and play them in the right positions and all of that. So, but yeah, we've got a really good chance of winning the tournament.
You know what worries me is we don't know our best 11 yet going into a tournament. And I'm not saying worries me because it's a good thing because we've got so many options.
Does any team know that?
Yeah, I think with Man City and the way Arsenal was shaping up at the end of the season, Liverpool when they... I think you do. I think in a tournament, and you guys will know better than me, there's always a couple of players that come into the team and end up being the better players within the tournament. That always happens historically. But there's been reports of Trent Alexander-Arnold be playing in that midfield area alongside Rice, which is very good, but he's not a midfielder, is he? And he's not
I think he is. I think he's always been a midfielder.
You know, he can play midfield, 100%. I agree with that. And you've been calling that for a while now, Gaz, and I agree with you. But
I don't think he's a fullback. I think that's the issue. I think he can play. He's an offensive fullback, but he plays more like a winger. And he's obviously his weakness is defensively 1-against-1. But you don't have to worry about that. And he's the best passer of the ball in the English game. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think he's tremendous. I'm his biggest fan. But there's a couple areas when I was watching against Iceland. So when Declan Rice pushes on, and Mainu was in there with him, the balance is not right. It's almost like they all go, but no. Like, there's a role that you have to play for Arsenal where you can go forward a little bit more. But Rice's role in this England team is protect his defence. And there was too many times against Iceland we were opened up too much. And I just think midfield's not just about what you can do on the ball. It's about tactically what you can do off the ball. And sometimes I feel in the midfield area, we're a little bit open, especially with a defence which is, you know, is not played together, you know, a lot of times because of injuries.
I suppose the question is here, do you play to protect your weakness or do you play to your strengths?
I would always play to the strengths, 100%. But it is very hard from a team who's played two pivots then to play with, two effects. So you see, and Alan, you said in the group the other day, Cole Palmer and Foden playing together, it was almost like they was going into the same spaces, weren't they? And it's like, well, we should have practiced this for the past 2 years. So when it come to it, this is what we can show. I just feel like we've got so many good players. We're trying to fit everyone in. And I think we've got the best individual players at the tournament. But I don't necessarily think we're the best team yet. And I think going through the tournament, that's what we have to become.
Yeah, I'll stick with what I said. I mean, defensively, I worry about us. In other positions, he has to find a way of getting everyone into the system that suits the team. If he has to upset one or two, then so be it. But we've got some really, really talented players from midfield onwards, and that should be enough to take us a long way in the tournament.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing how England go. Tournaments are totally different to friendlies and stuff like that. That extra edge, which makes you defend better.
Well, I wouldn't have an international career if we were judged on friendlies. So, yeah, forget about friendlies.
Slovenia, one of the teams in the group, world rankings 57. They were runners-up in Group H behind Denmark, who were also in this group, of course. They've got a very good goalkeeper, that's for sure. Jan Oblak, who's been at Atletico Madrid for quite some time now. And
they've got a good centre forward as well.
Yeah. Sesko.
Yeah. Leipzig. Very, what is he, 21, I think he is. I mean, for what's the population there? Is it around about 2.5, 3 million, something like that, is it? These,
I think Arsenal are after Sesko, aren't they?
There'll be a few after him because he's a really good player. So, I think this is the team that may finish bottom of the group.
Probably. Yeah, it's difficult. They've got Hovart as well in midfield, who's a good player. I don't know. When I'm watching the clips, they look pretty good. They look like a team that can handle the ball well. Defensively, they're okay. But like you said, they've got Sesko up front, who just on the counter attack, he can be brilliant. Watched him a lot in the Champions League this year. But yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to fare in the tournament. I think they need a little bit of luck to go through, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think they'll probably struggle to get through. Might rely a lot on their goalkeeper. On to Denmark, former winners, of course, in 1992 when they didn't qualify for the tournament. They were on the beach and they got a late call-up because Yugoslavia and the Balkan War started and all this stuff, so they weren't allowed to play, and Denmark came in and won the tournament in Sweden. They're still ranked 21. They've actually topped the group ahead of Slovenia, which I sort of mentioned. Kasper Hjulmand took Denmark to the semi-final in the Euros in 2021 when they lost against England, of course, in that semi-final. How do we think they'll fare? I suspect they'll probably get through this group.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they've got some good individual players, but Kasper Schmeichel is giving me all the hope. I mean, when he's the leader at the back, he gives me a lot of hope. You know which player I'm very disappointed with? Damsgaard.
Yeah, it's not happened for him, has it, at Brentford? Yeah.
When he was at Sampdoria, he was magnificent. He come to Brentford, has not really fit into how they want to play. Obviously, it's difficult because he can play forward like number 10 and also can play midfield. But when you've got Mbeumo and Tony and Visser up front, it's always going to be tough for him to find a spot. But I just think if he can get himself going along with Højlund up front, they could be deadly. Højbjerg in midfield as well. But yeah, I think they'll get out the group, but I don't think they're going to blow us away with absolute brilliance.
Yeah, I think the criticism at the World Cup, wasn't it, was the lack of in front of goal, that threat. Will Højlund change that? I mean, he did okay, didn't he, this season? Right. Very difficult circumstances for him, but he did okay. I mean, they've got so much experience in there. But I'm not sure. I think second or third. I don't. I'm not too.
Obviously, we had Kasper Schmeichel on as a guest recently, which I really enjoyed interviewing. Very articulate, very driven. Loves playing for his country. He's now got 100 caps for them. If you haven't listened to that yet, it's still there and available. Obviously, go and have a listen because he was fascinating on all sorts of things. You know, he's lived some extraordinary experiences, winning the league with Leicester and the helicopter crash of the owner of Leicester, obviously, and he was on the pitch when Christian Eriksen collapsed as well. It's a really good listen, so to be encouraged. I think Denmark will wriggle through either in second or third, but Serbia is the other probably team in the group that you would fancy perhaps going through. They were runners-up behind Hungary. Not a great record. I actually played with their manager, Dragan Stojkovic, when I was in Grand Prix 8 in Japan.
Did you?
Yeah. He was a really good player. I mean, he's midfield player, you know, really talented. Great guy as well, very smart. I think he kind of went into kind of the political side of football at one point, I think. But now he's the national team coach, and he took them to the World Cup, and now he's taking them to the Euros. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But there's some experienced players in there. Micah, you'll know. We all know some of them.
Yeah, I mean Mitrovic to start with. We've known him from the Premier League. Vlahovic, he was the one at Fiorentina, absolutely ripping it up, and then he got his big move to Juventus, and it just didn't materialise in the way he wanted to. He was banging. I thought he was going to be like the next Haaland when he was at Fiorentina. He was unbelievable. Goals, left footed, could run in behind, really good technique. But obviously, it's a different beast at Juve, which he still scores goals. I mean, but he's not at the level he was producing at Fiorentina. You got Jovic as well. He was the one who went to Real Madrid early.
Yeah, didn't happen.
And it didn't happen for him. Gone to AC Milan, sort of found his feet a little bit, scored a few goals. I think he's got 9 goals last season. Milinkovic-Savic as well. He is the player. He's gone. I think he's
Saudi,
gone
isn't he?
Saudi now, but he was the one at Lazio. He is a real ball player. A lot of the good stuff they do comes through him. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they can do. They've got good players on paper as a team. They're very good, but they're not scintillating.
Another team that has to ping crosses in. I mean, they have to do it because of Mitrovic. That's what he wants. He's their talisman. He's their goal scorer. Got a really good link-up play with Tadic. So those two are going to have to perform if they're going to get out of the group and call and give England problems. But I think they will. But I think they'll perhaps scrape into second or third.
Okay, top 2, Micah.
This is hard.
I'm going England, Denmark.
I'm going to join you, England, Denmark, with Serbia third. Yeah,
I'm gonna go England, Serbia because of set pieces with Mitrovic, and I think he could just be the difference. I know he's playing in Saudi, not a competitive of where he was playing in the Premier League, but he will score goals. So I'm going to go England, Serbia.
Okay, well, that's all for today's episode of The Rest is Football. We'll be back on Friday to preview the remaining 3 groups, including this tournament's so-called Group of Death with France, Netherlands, Austria and Poland. We'll see you then. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.